A new study by the Consumer Bankruptcy Project indicates that a record number of elderly individuals are filing for bankruptcy, and many of them are doing so because of crippling medical debt. Now, according to the findings of this survey, the rate of people 65 years and older filing for bankruptcy is 3 times what it was in the early 90s, 1991 to be exact. From February of 2013 to November of 2016, there were 3.6 bankruptcy filers per 1,000 people 65 to 74. In 1991, there were 1.2. So we're gonna get into some of the statistics that were shocking, but I wanna be clear about something. Social Security is a government program that Americans pay into and are entitled to. It is also a government program that prevents elderly people from ending up on the streets, ending up homeless. According to the findings of this study, there are elderly people who are spending about 44% of their Social Security checks in paying for medical bills, okay? So we have a real problem in the country, and this is an important program that helps people that Republicans consistently fight to cut because they want to continue cutting taxes for the wealthy. So just be completely aware of what's going on here.
So this is actually a great article by the New York Times. And yes, journalists in this country do wonderful work. And sometimes not great work, but you have to celebrate it when it is good. Because why? It's loaded up with facts and it starts to get you headed in the right direction. I want to give you the facts and then I also want to do our job, which is analysis. It's written by Tara Siegel Bernard. And one person she quotes is Cheryl McLeod of Las Vegas, who said, "I'm 70 and I'm working for less money than I ever did in my life." But she added, "This life stuff happens." Cheryl, it doesn't. It's not happenstance. It happens because the system was rigged against you. And I know when I say that, people on TV go, "No, how dare you? It's our beloved friends who built this system." Well, your friends built it to rob people. So let me explain how and why in this context, okay? So as the writer here points out, some of the forces that are affecting the tripling of bankruptcy rates for senior citizens in this country is, first of all, longer waits for Social Security benefits. Why? Because they passed laws saying that you have to wait longer to get your Social Security. They said, we had to. Well, you didn't have to if you didn't keep going into wars that cost trillions of dollars. You didn't have to if you didn't give tax cuts to the rich over and over. No, you chose to. It was a choice you made to make people wait longer, in which case they don't have the money in those years that they need it, and part of the reason why they go bankrupt. Point 2. There was a replacement of employer-provided pensions with 401k saving plans. Now, some of that is okay, and some of that it turns out okay, but sometimes it turns out you have less in your pension because of that. Another reason why you go to have more bankruptcies overall in the country. And then there's more out-of-pocket spending on healthcare, which we're going to talk a lot about, okay? And that's been an enormous factor. And why? Well, when you even ask for a public option, let alone what the rest of the civilized world does, which is single payer. All the politicians bought by all the healthcare companies through their donations and independent expenditures said, "No, you are not going to help the American people. I need to make a profit." And now those systems cost twice as much as they do in places like Canada and Japan, and we get worse service. And one of the consequences is that all of a sudden, 3 times as many senior citizens are going bankrupt. They're in the streets since 1991. It was not a mistake. It was not done on purpose to crush people. That was just collateral damage they didn't care about.
Exactly.
As they made more and more money and cost you more and more money.
There are so many, I mean, this is based on anecdotal evidence, obviously, but this story, this report draws a broader picture, real evidence of what's happening in the country. I mean, how many elderly people do you see on the streets in Los Angeles right now? There's so many. So look,
but now we have the facts.
Now we have the facts, exactly.
Because they're going bankrupt at record-breaking rates. Do you think all of a sudden the senior citizens in this country just became irresponsible? Because that's the absurdity that the Republican Party mainly pushes, but sometimes people on TV, the pundits and the Democrats go along with that framing of like, well, personal responsibility. What, all of a sudden all the seniors in the country became irresponsible overnight? What an incredibly unnuanced and unintelligent thing to say. No, it is the market forces that they created.
And I also want to just quickly mention an important distinction between Social Security and other retirement savings accounts like 401ks or IRAs. Look, 401ks, IRAs, those are all tied to risk. They're all dependent on how the stock market performs. And that is a scary thing to consider when you look into artificially inflated stocks, which is exactly what's happening right now. There's a bubble going on with these markets, and it's gonna come crashing down, and people who are relying solely on a 401k are gonna suffer as a result of that. Social Security is not tied to these risks. So it is a way of ensuring that people have something to hold them over while they're retiring. It's so important. Okay, so let me give you some more of these details. So, this study asked the respondents, what is the reasoning behind your bankruptcy? Why did you file for bankruptcy? 3 in 5 said unmanageable medical expenses played a role. A little more than 2/3 cited a drop in income. We talk about stagnant wages a lot, but when people get older, their earning power decreases. People are less likely to get hired as they get older, unfortunately. Also, nearly 3/4 put some blame on hounding by debt collectors. So the median household led by someone 65 or older had liquid savings of about $60,600 in 2016, whereas the bottom 25% of households had saved at almost $3,260. I'm mentioning that because if you think this is a problem now with our current elderly community, it will become a lot worse in the future because people are having a harder time saving right now. Consumer debt is at a record level right now. So this is a problem already, but it will only get worse if we don't do something about how this system is rigged right now.
Look, the only good news that comes out of this is as I was reading this article, I thought, we're gonna get Medicare for all because we as a country are traumatized by either not having insurance or the deathly fear that we are going to lose insurance at some point. And either we're just going to give up and say it's not a democracy, just let the donors run things, and we'll just keep getting shocked, and it'll go from 3 times, but eventually to 6 times as many senior citizens out in the streets, and we'll turn into a barbaric country run by oligarchs, or we're going to fight back and we're going to win. Because people can't take this anymore. 3 out of 5, 60% are saying they're going bankrupt as senior citizens because they can't pay their medical bills. No other developed country does this, where it terrorizes its own citizens, where you're literally afraid for your life at all times. There's a guy in this story that has Parkinson's, and then all of a sudden, the rules change on him. He was collecting, he had medical insurance through a union because he got hurt at a job, etc. They take that away from him. All of a sudden, his bill goes from $70 a month to over $1,000. Well, he can't afford that, so he hasn't been taking his medicine for 3 months. You know what's gonna happen? He's gonna deteriorate, and then he's gonna finally die because we live in a brutal system that doesn't give a damn about you and that doesn't care about its citizens. The only thing it cares about is the donors. So they're letting you die out there. 15.5% of this country has no insurance at all. No other developed nation tolerates this. And by the way, you think it's cheaper? No, it costs twice as much, our healthcare, as the other countries. Why? It's going into the pockets of the few. That's how the system's rigged.
And just to give you a sense of how much these people have to pay for health care, even though they have Medicaid, or Medicare, I should say. By 2013, the average Medicare beneficiary's out-of-pocket spending on health care consumed 41% of the average Social Security check. So look, we have to do something about this. For about 1 in 3 older people who receive Social Security benefits, their monthly check accounts for 90% of their income. Republicans are coming for that program. They want to cut that program. They call it an entitlement because they think that that's a way of demonizing it, but it is an entitlement because we've paid into it. We're entitled to it.
And look, again, I'm giving you a lot of credit here because it's a wonderful story and that does come out of the media. But also the rest of the media, stop playing neutral. Call things as they are. Paul Ryan, immediately after the giant tax cut for the rich, said we have to do entitlement reform of Social Security and Medicare. So yes, Absolutely, the Republicans are coming for Social Security. That's a fact. They say it all the time, but you cover for them. And you go, well, I can't quite tell. Now, if you were to say, hey, Obama also proposed to negotiate with the Republicans when he was in office and proposed to cut Social Security, you are right. And you should report that. Instead, beloved Obama, beloved Obama. But he proposed to cut Social Security. Why? He also gets the money from the donors. The Democratic establishment does their role in this game is, oh golly gee, the Republicans made me do it. And here they are again. Look, let me be more accurate about the guy I was talking about earlier, Lawrence Sedita. He's 74 years old. He's a former carpenter living in Vegas. It used to be $70 for 3 months of coverage. Okay, you could do $70 for 3 months of insurance coverage. Now it's $1,100. He has Parkinson's. He can't afford it. He's been in his house shaking the whole time. This is what we do to people in this country. And then they wonder why you're angry. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.